The message arrived like a digital ghost, a flicker on my screen late one Tuesday evening. I was grading papers, the scent of old books and lukewarm tea filling my small apartment overlooking the canals of Amsterdam. It had been years since I'd actively used that particular social media account, a relic from a life I'd carefully packed away. But the notification pinged, insistent. It was from Sarah Jenkins, a distant cousin I hadn't spoken to in perhaps a decade. Her profile picture showed her smiling, older now, surrounded by grandchildren. The message itself was short, almost perfunctory. "Dearest Sophia, just heard the tragic news. So terribly sorry for your loss, thinking of you and sending prayers." My loss? I frowned, rereading the words. Had something happened to someone back home? My parents were elderly, frail, even when I'd last seen them years ago. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. But the phrasing, "sorry for your loss," it didn't make sense. Unless she meant the loss of me? No, that was absurd. I typed back a cautious reply, "Sarah, thank you for your thoughts, but I'm a bit confused. What news are you referring to?" Hours passed. The cursor blinked on the empty screen. Perhaps it was a mistake, a message meant for another Sophia Reynolds. It wouldn't be the first time. I tried to return to my grading, but the unease lingered, a faint, discordant note in the quiet evening. Then, another notification. This time from Mark Evans, an old university colleague. "Sophia, I was stunned to hear about your passing. You were a brilliant mind and a kind soul. The department won't be the same." My breath hitched. My passing? This wasn't a mistake. Two messages, both offering condolences, for me. My hands trembled slightly as I navigated back to Sarah's profile, scrolling through her recent posts. There it was. A shared post from my sister Rebecca. It was a picture of me, younger, smiling awkwardly at some family gathering years ago. Above it, Rebecca had written a long, saccharine tribute. "It is with the heaviest heart I announce the passing of my beloved sister, Sophia Reynolds, taken from us too soon in a tragic accident abroad. Her light shone so brightly. We will miss her dearly. Details for the memorial service to follow." The words swam before my eyes. Accident abroad? Memorial service? I wasn't dead. I was sitting right here, very much alive, breathing the cool Amsterdam air. A wave of dizziness washed over me. This had to be some grotesque joke, some elaborate, cruel prank. But why? And orchestrated by Rebecca? Our relationship had fractured years ago, irrevocably broken over the care of our aging parents. I had advocated for professional, compassionate care, horrified by Rebecca's dismissive attitude and what I suspected was financial corner-cutting. She'd accused me of interference, of judging her. Our parents, caught in the middle, had sided with Rebecca, the daughter who stayed, while I, the academic who moved away for a prestigious teaching position, became the estranged outsider. The silence between us had stretched into years, a chasm I hadn't known how to bridge, but this was monstrous. Declaring me dead? It felt like a violation, an erasure. My mind raced, trying to grasp the motive. Why fake my death? The timing felt significant, though I couldn't yet place why. A cold dread began to seep into my bones, far more chilling than the initial shock. What had Rebecca done? And more importantly, why? The screen blurred again, not with tears, but with a rising, unfamiliar anger. My existence wasn't a footnote for her to erase. I needed answers. And I had a feeling the truth was far uglier than I could possibly imagine. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, 1,000 questions burning in my mind. Where did she say this accident happened? When? And what memorial service was she planning for a woman who was very much alive? The search bar beckoned, promising answers, but also threatening to reveal a betrayal deeper than I ever thought possible. The digital rabbit hole was deeper and darker than I could have anticipated. Armed with a pot of strong coffee and a growing sense of cold fury, I began to dig. Rebecca's social media profile, usually filled with curated images of her seemingly perfect life, was now a morbid shrine to my fabricated demise. Post after post lamented the loss of her dear sister Sophia. Comments poured in, condolences from people I vaguely remembered, neighbors, old family friends, all expressing shock and sadness over the tragic accident. According to Rebecca's narrative, I had perished in a hiking accident in the Swiss Alps 2 months prior. It was sudden, she claimed, and due to the circumstances, repatriation of the remains was complex. Hence, a closed casket service. It was all so elaborate, so chillingly detailed. She'd woven a narrative that was just plausible enough to be believed by those who hadn't heard from me in years. The estrangement, my life abroad, it all served her purpose, creating a vacuum of information she could readily fill with lies. I searched online news archives for reports of accidents in the Swiss Alps matching her timeline. Nothing. No mention of a Sophia Reynolds, American tourist, meeting a tragic end. Of course not. Because I was here, alive, my passport safely tucked away in a drawer, stamped with entries and exits that proved my continued existence. My mind flashed back to the reason for our estrangement, the argument over our parents' care. Rebecca had always resented my academic success, my life lived away from our small hometown. She'd framed my concern for our parents as criticism of her, but it was more than that. I remembered noticing discrepancies in the household accounts back then, small amounts missing, vague explanations given. When I'd pressed, Rebecca had flown into a rage, accusing me of mistrust. Our parents, wanting peace, had urged me to drop it. Had that been the start? Had her resentment festered alongside a growing financial desperation? Then I found it. Tucked away in the online announcements section of our hometown newspaper's website. An obituary, my obituary. It detailed my life, my career, mostly accurately, surprisingly, and mourned my untimely passing. It listed Rebecca as the sole surviving immediate family member handling arrangements. And then, the detail that made my blood run cold, the announcement of the memorial service. It was scheduled for next Saturday, at St. Albans Church. The church where I was baptized, where our parents were married. The audacity was breathtaking. She wasn't just declaring me dead, she was performing my funeral rites in the heart of our shared history. But why go to such lengths? The answer struck me with the force of a physical blow. Our grandmother. Years ago, Gran had set up a trust fund for me, separate from the main family inheritance, payable upon her passing or upon my 60th birthday, whichever came later. Gran had passed away 3 years ago. My 60th birthday was 2 months ago, the exact time Rebecca claimed I had died. It couldn't be a coincidence. Rebecca hadn't just erased me out of spite, she'd erased me for money. My money. The inheritance Gran had specifically earmarked for me. The scale of the betrayal left me breathless. She hadn't just lied, she had committed identity theft on a grand scale, attempting to defraud me of my inheritance by declaring me legally deceased. The quiet anger I'd felt earlier began to solidify into something harder, sharper. This wasn't just about correcting a lie. It was about reclaiming my life, my identity, and exposing her for the fraud she was. My gaze fell on the date of the memorial service. Next Saturday, less than 10 days away, Rebecca was moving fast. If she succeeded in having me declared legally dead based on her fabricated evidence, accessing that trust fund would become infinitely harder, perhaps impossible. I needed proof. Concrete, undeniable proof of my existence, and I needed help. My mind immediately went to one person, a former student, bright, tenacious, now a lawyer. Could he help me unravel this nightmare? The phone call to David Chen felt surreal. Explaining that I needed legal help because my sister had declared me dead and was planning my memorial service to steal my inheritance sounded like the plot of a bizarre novel. But David, ever the sharp, analytical mind I remembered from my seminars, listened patiently, his initial surprise quickly replaced by focused attention. "Professor Reynolds, Sophia," he corrected himself. "This is extraordinary and deeply disturbing. Of course I'll help. Tell me everything. Over the next few days, my apartment transformed into a command center. David, working remotely from his office in Chicago, guided me through the process of assembling irrefutable proof of life. It felt strangely like building a case for my own existence. We started with the basics. My passport, brimming with recent entry and exit stamps from various European countries, none of them Switzerland around the time of my supposed death. My Dutch residency permit, my employment contract with the university here in Amsterdam, recent pay stubs, bank statements showing transactions made daily in the city. Each document felt like a small victory, a brick in the wall of truth I was constructing against Rebecca's lies. David explained the legal hurdles. Rebecca must have filed some sort of documentation, perhaps a falsified foreign death certificate, affidavits from fictitious witnesses. She's banking on the fact that you're estranged and living abroad, David said grimly over a video call. She probably assumes no one will question it too closely, especially if she seems like the grieving sister. The phrase grieving sister sent a fresh wave of revulsion through me. We needed more than just proof I was alive now. We needed to definitively disprove the accident narrative. David suggested contacting the Swiss authorities, filing inquiries about any reported accidents involving American citizens during that time frame. He also advised reaching out to the U.S. Embassy. Meanwhile, I scoured my digital footprint. Dated photos taken on my phone with geolags placing me firmly in the Netherlands, emails exchanged with colleagues and students, even online purchase receipts. Each piece of data was meticulously cataloged, dated, and cross-referenced. As I gathered the evidence, a picture of Rebecca's desperation began to emerge. Snippets of information gleaned from mutual acquaintances online hinted at financial troubles. Her husband's failed business venture, whispers of debt. It wasn't just greed, perhaps, but a panicked attempt to stay afloat, using my erasure as a lifeline. It didn't excuse her actions, not in the slightest, but it painted a portrait of someone driven to monstrous lengths by their own failures. One evening, sorting through old files, I found a letter from our grandmother, written shortly before she passed. Tucked inside was a note specifically for me. "Sophia, my dear," it read, "never let anyone diminish your light. You have a strength in you, quiet but deep. Use it wisely." Tears pricked my eyes. Gran had always seen me, truly seen me, even when the rest of the family seemed to look right through me. Her words felt like a blessing, a validation. My quiet strength. Rebecca had mistaken my distance for weakness, my silence for acquiescence. She was about to find out how wrong she was. The evidence was mounting, a formidable arsenal of truth. The date of the memorial service loomed closer. David and I began to strategize. How could we deploy this evidence for maximum impact? How could we not only stop the fraud, but expose it in a way that left no room for doubt? David presented a bold idea, one that made my heart pound. "The memorial service?" he said, his voice low and intense. "That's her stage. What if? What if we make it yours?" The thought of walking into my own funeral was terrifying, theatrical, almost unthinkable. But wasn't that exactly where the lie was being performed? Wasn't it the perfect place to confront it head-on? The idea settled into my bones, chilling at first, then strangely empowering. Attending my own memorial service. It was audacious, bordering on the theatrical, yet it felt right. It was the stage Rebecca had chosen for her final act of deception, and it would be the stage where I reclaimed my narrative. David and I spent hours planning the logistics. Flying back to the States unnoticed, securing accommodation away from prying eyes, coordinating the timing, it required meticulous precision. "We need to ensure your entrance has the maximum legal and emotional impact," David advised. "Walking in disrupts the proceedings, yes, but we need to control the narrative immediately after. No hysterics, no accusations flung across the church. Just calm, undeniable proof." He arranged for a certified notary to be on standby, ready to witness the events and authenticate the documents I would present. Booking the flight under my own name felt like an act of defiance. Sophia Reynolds was traveling, alive and well. I packed a small bag, choosing my outfit with care. Not morning clothes, certainly, but something dignified, professional. The clothes of a woman who had come to correct a serious error, not to cause a scene, though a scene was inevitable. I included the file David and I had painstakingly assembled. Certified copies of my passport pages, my Dutch residency and employment records, bank statements, correspondence from the Swiss authorities confirming no record of my death, sworn affidavits, even recent, time-stamped photos taken in Amsterdam, and Grand's letter. That felt essential. The flight across the Atlantic was a strange mix of anxiety and resolve. Looking down at the clouds, I felt like a ghost returning to haunt the living, but I wasn't a specter seeking vengeance in the traditional sense. I sought something cleaner, more definitive, truth. The truth of my existence, the truth of Rebecca's betrayal, the truth about the lengths someone would go to for money, even erasing their own sister. I thought about my parents. Where were they in all this? Rebecca's obituary notice had mentioned them being too frail to handle arrangements, conveniently placing herself in charge. Were they aware of the lie? Had Rebecca manipulated them, fed them a story they were too weak or perhaps too willing to believe? Or were they complicit? The uncertainty gnawed at me. Seeing them again, under these circumstances, would be incredibly painful, regardless of their role. I landed 2 days before the service, checking into a nondescript hotel in a neighboring town under my own name. David met me there, having flown in from Chicago. We went over the plan one last time. He would attend the service discreetly, posing as a distant colleague paying respects, ready to step forward as my legal counsel when needed. The notary would also be present, blending in with the mourners. My role was simple, yet terrifying. Wait until the service was well underway, ideally during the eulogy, Rebecca's eulogy, and then walk in. The day before the service arrived, a heavy gray sky hanging over the town. I drove past St. Albans, the familiar stone facade, looking imposing and somber. Cars were already parked nearby, likely family arriving early. Peeking through the window of a local florist shop, I saw arrangements being prepared, lilies and white roses predominating. Cards attached bore messages of sympathy for the loss of Sophia. It was profoundly unsettling seeing the tangible preparations for my own funeral. A wave of nausea hit me. Could I really do this? Walk into that church, face my family, face Rebecca? Grand's words echoed in my mind. Never let anyone diminish your light. Yes, I could. I had to. Saturday morning dawned cool and clear. Dressed in my carefully chosen navy suit, the folder of evidence feeling heavy in my hands, I sat in my rental car a block away from St. Albans. The church bells began to toll, a mournful sound that seemed to vibrate deep within my chest. Guests were arriving, dressed in black, faces etched with solemnity. I saw my cousins, old neighbors, faces I hadn't seen in years. Then, a black limousine pulled up. Rebecca emerged, clad in dramatic black, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. My mother followed, frail and leaning heavily on Rebecca's arm. The sight of her sent a pang through me. It was time. My heart hammered against my ribs. Could I maintain the calm resolve David and I had planned? Taking a deep, steadying breath, I opened the car door. The church bells had ceased their tolling. The service must have begun. The street was quiet now, most attendees already inside. Walking towards St. Albans felt like moving through water, each step requiring conscious effort. The heavy oak doors were closed, muffling the sounds from within. I could faintly hear organ music. My hand rested on the cold metal handle. This was it, the point of no return. Pushing the door open just enough to slip inside, I entered the narthex, the small space before the main sanctuary. The air was thick with the scent of lilies and old polished wood. From here, I could hear the service more clearly. A minister was speaking, his voice resonating through the hushed space. I couldn't see into the sanctuary yet. screened by an inner set of glass doors. My plan was to wait until the eulogies began. Rebecca, predictably, would want the spotlight. I leaned against the cool stone wall, the folder clutched tightly. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The minister concluded his remarks, followed by a hymn. Then, a different voice began to speak. It wasn't Rebecca yet, perhaps a family friend sharing a memory. I risked a peek through the glass doors. The church was full. Rows upon rows of familiar and unfamiliar faces, all directed towards the front. There, near the altar, was a large, framed portrait of me, the same smiling, slightly awkward photo Rebecca had used online. Beside it stood an elegant, closed casket, draped in white flowers. Seeing my own coffin, even knowing it was empty, sent a fresh jolt through me. It was a visceral symbol of Rebecca's monstrous act. Then the minister announced, and now her sister, Rebecca, will share some words in loving memory. My cue! My heart leaped into my throat. I saw Rebecca approach the lectern, clutching a sheaf of papers. She adjusted the microphone, took a shaky breath, and began to speak, her voice thick with feigned emotion. Sophia, my dear sister. That was my moment. Straightening my shoulders, I pushed open the inner glass doors and stepped into the main aisle. A few heads turned at the back, registering the late arrival. I started walking forward, my footsteps echoing softly on the stone floor. I kept my gaze fixed on the front, on Rebecca, on my portrait, on the empty casket. Heads began to turn more rapidly now, a ripple of confusion spreading through the pews. People frowned, nudged each other, whispered. Who was this woman, dressed not in black, walking so deliberately down the aisle during the eulogy? Rebecca hadn't noticed yet, her eyes downcast as she read her prepared words, voice trembling with crocodile tears. A light extinguished too soon, a spirit. I was halfway down the aisle now. Those closer to the front were beginning to recognize me. Gasps started, quiet at first, then louder. A collective intake of breath seemed to suck the air from the room. My Aunt Carol's eyes widened in disbelief. Mr. Henderson, our old neighbor, dropped his program. The whispers grew louder, more urgent. Is that? It can't be. Sophia? Rebecca faltered, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. The attention suddenly diverted from her performance. She looked up, annoyed at the interruption, her gaze sweeping across the congregation. And then her eyes landed on me. Time seemed to freeze. Rebecca's face went slack, her carefully constructed mask of grief shattering. The color drained from her cheeks, leaving her ghostly pale. The eulogy card slipped from her trembling fingers, scattering across the floor. All sound ceased, replaced by a stunned, absolute silence. Every eye in St. Albans Church was now fixed on me, the ghost who had just walked into her own memorial service. The silence in St. Albans was absolute, heavier than any grief. It pressed down, thick with disbelief and shock. Rebecca stood frozen at the lectern, her mouth slightly agape, the scattered eulogy cards lying at her feet like fallen leaves. Her eyes, wide with terror, were locked on mine. In that moment, I saw not just shock, but the dawning horror of exposure. Then, a sharp gasp broke the stillness. It came from the front pew. My mother. Her hand flew to her chest, clutching the pearls at her throat, her face a mask of utter astonishment and perhaps fear. Her eyes darted between me and Rebecca, confusion warring with a dawning, dreadful understanding. Was her shock genuine? Had Rebecca truly kept her in the dark? Or was she merely stunned that the elaborate lie had imploded so spectacularly? I couldn't be sure, not yet. I continued my slow, deliberate walk down the aisle, the rustle of my suit the only sound in the cavernous space. The faces I passed were a blur of gaping mouths and wide eyes. No one moved. No one spoke. They were trapped between the impossibility of what they were seeing and the undeniable reality of my presence. I reached the front of the church, stopping directly before the altar, beside my own portrait and the flower-draped casket. I turned to face the congregation, my gaze sweeping over the stunned faces, finally resting on Rebecca, who still hadn't moved, seemingly paralyzed. Then I looked at my mother, whose expression was now unreadable, her hand still pressed to her chest. I took another deep breath, summoning the calm resolve David and I had rehearsed. This wasn't about shouting or accusations. It was about the quiet, irrefutable power of the truth. My voice, when I finally spoke, was clear and steady, amplified slightly by the church's acoustics. It cut through the silence like a knife. "I understand," I began, my eyes meeting Rebecca's directly, "that you've all gathered here today to mourn my passing." A collective murmur rippled through the church. "I appreciate the sentiment." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. "However, as you can see, the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated." A nervous titter went through some sections of the crowd, quickly stifled. Rebecca flinched as if struck. Her eyes darted wildly, looking for an escape, but there was none. She was trapped on her own stage, the spotlight now harsh and unforgiving. "My sister, Rebecca," I continued, my voice remaining level, though laced with an undeniable edge, "seems to have been misinformed. There was no accident. There was no tragedy in the Alps." I gestured towards the folder in my hands. "I have spent the last several months, very much alive, teaching at the university in Amsterdam." I saw David stand up discreetly from his position near the back, a silent signal that legal support was present. Beside him, the notary also rose slightly. Their presence added a layer of official gravity to the proceedings. Rebecca finally seemed to regain some semblance of movement, but it was jerky, panicked. This is a trick," she stammered, her voice high-pitched, cracking. She can't be here. It's impossible." "Impossible?" I echoed, raising an eyebrow. "Or merely inconvenient for you, Rebecca?" I stepped towards the altar, towards my own portrait. The polished wood felt cool beneath my fingers. With deliberate care, I opened the heavy folder. The documents inside represented my life, my identity, the very things Rebecca had tried to steal. "Perhaps," I said, my voice resonating in the charged silence, "some evidence is in order." All eyes were fixed on the folder, waiting. What proof did the ghost carry? The rustle of paper sounded unnaturally loud in the stunned silence of St. Albans. I carefully extracted the first document, a certified copy of my current passport, opened to the page showing my photo and recent entry stamps into the Netherlands. Holding it up so those nearby could see, I addressed the congregation, though my eyes kept flicking back to Rebecca. "This is my passport. Stamped just last week upon my return to Amsterdam from a conference in Berlin. Not exactly the Swiss Alps, wouldn't you agree?" Next, I produced my Dutch residency permit and my university employment contract, my home for the past 5 years. My place of work? Each document landed softly on the polished surface of the altar beside my portrait, building a small, undeniable pile of truth. The whispers started again, louder this time, charged with indignation and dawning comprehension. People weren't just shocked anymore. They were beginning to understand the deception. Rebecca watched, her face contorting with a mixture of fury and panic. "Lies, forgeries," she shrieked, finally finding her voice, though it was ragged. "She's trying to disrupt this sacred service. She was always jealous, always trying to cause trouble." "Jealous, Rebecca?" I asked calmly, meeting her desperate gaze. "Or was it you who was jealous? Was it you who couldn't stand the thought of me receiving Grand's inheritance? The inheritance she specifically set aside for me?" The mention of the inheritance caused a fresh wave of murmurs. People exchanged knowing glances. The motive, stark and ugly, was laid bare. I placed the next document on the altar, the official communication from the Swiss authorities confirming no record of any accident involving Sophia Reynolds. "And this," I announced, my voice ringing with clarity, "is confirmation from the Swiss government. No accident, no death." My mother finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Rebecca, what is this? What have you done?" She looked utterly bewildered, her eyes pleading with her younger daughter for an explanation that could somehow make sense of the impossible. Rebecca ignored her, her focus entirely on me, her eyes blazing with hatred. You planned this. You came here to ruin me. Ruin you? I countered, my voice hardening slightly. You declared me dead, Rebecca. You tried to erase my existence. You planned to steal my inheritance based on a monstrous lie. Who, exactly, is ruining whom? I let the question hang in the air, the weight of it pressing down on her. I then placed the final, most personal item on the altar. Gran's letter. Our grandmother, I said, my voice softening slightly as I touched the worn paper, warned me about letting others diminish my light. She knew about quiet strength. I looked directly at Rebecca. You mistook my distance for absence, my silence for consent. You thought I wouldn't fight back. The atmosphere in the church had shifted entirely. The initial shock had given way to a palpable sense of outrage directed squarely at Rebecca. People were staring at her with open disapproval, some shaking their heads in disgust. The carefully constructed facade of the grieving sister had crumbled, revealing the desperate fraud beneath. Even the minister looked appalled, stepping back from the lectern as if distancing himself. Rebecca seemed to shrink under the weight of their collective judgment. Her eyes darted around, finding no sympathy, no escape. Her breath came in ragged gasps. The memorial service for Sophia Reynolds had irrevocably transformed into the public exposure of Rebecca's crime. David, my lawyer, stepped forward calmly from the back, moving towards the aisle. The notary followed suit. Their professional presence signaled the shift from family drama to legal consequence. Rebecca saw them approaching, and pure, unadulterated panic flashed across her face. Her carefully orchestrated deception was not just exposed, it was about to have very real, very serious repercussions. What would she do next? Confess? Flee? Or try one last desperate gamble? Rebecca didn't confess. She didn't flee. Instead, cornered and exposed, she lashed out, her voice rising to a near hysterical pitch. She drove me to it, always looking down on me, judging me, living her perfect life abroad, while I was stuck here, dealing with everything, with Mum and Dad. She abandoned us. Her accusations rang hollow in the face of the calculated cruelty she had orchestrated. It was the desperate deflection of someone caught red-handed. My mother flinched at the mention of being dealt with. She looked at Rebecca, then at me, tears finally streaming down her face. Rebecca, she whispered, heartbroken, how could you? It seemed her shock was genuine, the pain of realizing one daughter had tried to erase the other, perhaps manipulating her own parents in the process, was etched onto her features. David reached the front, standing beside me, calm and authoritative. Ms. Reynolds, he addressed Rebecca formally, his voice cutting through her outburst. My name is David Chen. I represent Sophia Reynolds. We have compiled extensive evidence documenting your fraudulent attempt to declare my client deceased for financial gain. This includes falsified documents submitted to authorities and financial institutions. He gestured towards the pile on the altar. Attempted identity theft and fraud carry severe penalties. The notary stepped forward, holding up his own credentials. I am here as an official witness to these events and the presentation of this evidence. The mention of legal consequences, the presence of the lawyer and notary, finally seemed to break through Rebecca's panicked rage. The fight drained out of her. She slumped against the lectern, burying her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with what might have been sobs, or perhaps just the tremors of utter defeat. The congregation watched in silence, the judgment in their eyes unwavering. They had come to mourn a death, and had instead witnessed the death of a lie. I looked at the portrait of my younger self, then at the empty casket. It felt like closing a chapter, not just on Rebecca's betrayal, but on the estrangement, the years of silence. Perhaps this rupture, however painful, was necessary. I stepped forward and addressed the assembly one last time. I didn't come here today seeking revenge, I said, my voice quiet but firm. I came seeking truth. I came to reclaim my name, my life, the existence my own sister tried to extinguish for 30 pieces of silver, or rather, for Grand's trust fund. I paused, letting the weight of the biblical illusion settle. My relationship with my family has been fractured for years, and perhaps that's a tragedy in its own right, but erasing someone is not the answer. Deception is not the foundation upon which families should stand. I picked up Grand's letter from the altar, holding it gently. My grandmother believed in quiet strength. Today, I chose to give that strength a voice. My story will not be written by others, especially not with lies. I looked towards my mother, whose gaze met mine, filled with a complex mix of shame, sorrow, and perhaps a flicker of hope. There were no easy answers there, no quick reconciliation possible, but the truth was finally out. David calmly informed Rebecca that the relevant authorities would be contacted, and legal proceedings would follow regarding the attempted fraud and identity theft. There was nothing more to be said in the church. The memorial service was well and truly over. As David began gathering the documents from the altar, I turned and walked back up the aisle. This time, people didn't just stare. They watched with a kind of awe, some even nodding slightly, acknowledging the quiet power of the moment. I didn't look back at Rebecca or my mother. My focus was forward, on the open doors of the church, leading back out into the sunlight, back to the life that was rightfully mine. The ghost had not only returned, she had reclaimed her place among the living, leaving the architect of her demise to face the ruins of her own making. My existence was no longer a whisper, it was a statement. And I was finally free to write the next chapter myself. And so, Sophia walked out of the church and back into her life, leaving the echoes of shattered lies behind her. The truth, quiet but persistent, ultimately proved stronger than the most elaborate deception. It reminds us that our existence, our stories, are ours alone to write, and no one has the right to erase them. What do you think is the most shocking part of this family's betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your perspectives. If Sophia's strength resonated with you, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Revenge with Emma for more stories of resilience and justice.